Good morning. I'm Deborah DeBoer, and this is our Friday Fuel. I am delighted today to have one of our, I was going to say our oldest members, one of our longer-lasting members who's been with NASBAR for a long time. Glo, if you want to introduce yourself, tell a little bit about when you did join NASBAR and a little bit about what you're doing now.
Okay. Hi, I'm Glo Matlin. I'm with Compass. I started out with Justine Can, if any of you remember, back in 1987, pregnant, saying I need to do something part-time just to keep me busy. Obviously, many years later, 37 or so years later, here we are. Went through a few different stages, not just Can. We were purchased by Coldwell Banker. And then 5 years ago, I went to Compass. So here we are.
So here you are. You've been doing real estate through a lot of different changes. We were talking about that earlier, the changes that we're seeing. As I look through some of the stuff that you've posted about yourself, one of the interesting things that I noticed, and I discovered because this must have happened before I actually worked here, you were Humanitarian of the Year for NASBAR 1 year. I'm not going to ask you what year. I'm not going to ask you.
And I probably don't remember.
Okay, good. But what I wanted to ask, but I did notice, I read through a lot of the information about you, is you are very active in lots of different boards and charities. I want to know, do you do it because of business? Do you do it because of what you love to do? Does it affect your business? How do those two obligations, because doing a fair amount of charity work is time consuming. Real estate is time consuming.
Right.
How do you make that all work together?
Well, I think foremost, certainly I love what I do real estate-wise, but I've always been involved in charities from a very young age. It was something my family instilled in me. So it was not like, I never did it because I was trying to get business, let's put it this way. It was always because that's what I want to do. I had a very strong interest in ADA. I was very involved with American Disabilities Association in Chicago with a wonderful gal who unfortunately has passed away, Marca Bistro, who was really instrumental in getting things passed in the industry, working with real estate people like me, but was really, really strong in getting things done. So for me, it was just a continuation. So that was kind of my first really strong strong group that I joined. Then got involved with mental health. And Jocelyn Center, that is actually started in Northfield and now has spread like wildfire.
Tell me what that is.
Jocelyn Center is a place for, number one, people who can't afford to go to a mental health facility because they don't have the funds to do it. It started out as originally being sponsored by the state of Illinois until the funds ran out. So then my husband Eric, he was on the board. We got very involved. And as time changed, more and more people we got involved with, brought more dollars, and now they are completely funded without the state of Illinois, and now they've spread all over. And it really gives an outlet for a young adult to have a place to go and to be supported, and if they need extra services, it's kind of like a resource center.
Okay.
During the Highland Park shootings, they were huge. They were Johnny on the spot to be there and help all the people who really needed extra help. And they're an amazing organization. Strongly support them. But, we continue, my husband and I, very involved in the cancer associations. When we were, Susan Komen used to be pretty heavy here. They're not so much anymore. But wherever we could give back. It's important to give back to the community. So I never looked at it as a place to get business. Maybe I have along the way. I've never even thought about it, to be honest. It's just what I like to do, and we'll continue to do it.
Then I like that, and I love that you did a commercial for the Jocelyn people. That's a great thing for people.
Correct.
I think people are so unaware that there are resources out there.
Correct.
Because they're so scattered. We were doing leadership training, and one of the projects that someone was trying to work on was becoming like a clearinghouse for all the resources that existed. Didn't quite work out. She moved away, so it didn't work out. But I thought that was a brilliant idea to sort of collect the resources for people who need help with that.
Absolutely.
So terrific. But on to business. So what do you do to create business?
I just show up. No. I think one of the things when I first started in the business, we moved to the North Shore, I didn't know one person, not one. I really didn't.
Where did you
And
live before that?
We lived in the city.
Okay.
And I was in a different business, so this was my new world of real estate. And when we moved here, I would take floor time, which was something we used to do in the past.
I do remember.
And I would do open houses, and I put myself out there, and I was pretty good at connecting with people. And that's really how my business evolved. And I was very lucky, I think, just being at the right place at the right time, young and maybe not that smart of what I was doing, and just kind of going with it. I think now, with the way our social media works and our internet and interactions, I'm still about networking. I love networking. I love back to real life of seeing people at a party or at a, going to an office event. Really important to do that. I think it's a lot harder now for the newer agents coming in because there isn't, floor calls per se. And
floor calls were lovely. It gave everybody a start.
Right.
It gave everybody like a jump start to find the first 3 clients that they had.
It's true.
It did. I think that's a big loss for us.
I think so too. And I really, I think you have to have connections, unfortunately, now to get in the business. I think it's very hard to just kind of go in there and expect it's going to fall in your lap. It just doesn't. So I'm really a big believer, even though I'm old, technology with social media is pretty cool because I do get a lot of calls from social media.
What are you putting on there that people are calling?
Stuff about my dog.
I actually think people, I'm going to go back to Caroline. They respond to dogs. Yeah. I have more pictures of dogs in my Instagram account than I have people, I believe, most days.
Me too.
And you know what? I'm pretty okay with that.
I am too.
Yeah.
But every so often I'll do a fun reel and I'll be at a house and I don't second guess it. I just go with it. People say, "Oh, aren't you worried that how you're going to look and you're going to make up something and it's like going to sound stupid?" And I'm like, I don't care. That's kind of who I am. And okay, it's kind of better if you make a mistake. People respond to people who aren't perfect.
Authenticity.
And so I think that's really important. So I do encourage all of our newer agents coming in, or even the mature agents, do a reel. Get on there. Put yourself out there. It's not that scary. And you don't have to post it if it doesn't look good. Just don't do it. But even my son, who's my partner in the business, who's 40-something years old, is really not comfortable with it. And I'm like, just let go. Just be who you are. And, people will respond. So I think Instagram is like my new best friend.
Your son is working with you.
He is.
Are you dividing up duties, or are you both doing a little of everything, or have you sort of split off and decided how to work that?
We kind of split everything. He's really better at all the technology stuff.
Except he doesn't like to be on camera.
He doesn't like to be on camera. But he's great like with DocuSign and DigiSign and that loop. It's like not my friend. So I try to stay away from that part of it. He does all our documents and all that. But, we both work with the sellers. We both work with the buyers. As I say, I'm a little older, and I'm trying to put more responsibility to him so that I can ease out of the business in 5 years.
Okay. That seems or 2, or however.
Or next week.
Depends on the day, doesn't it?
Or maybe August 18th.
Depends on the day. Speaking of the changes that are coming, you and I both lived through a lot I was thinking about this the other day. I still remember, we have 2 here in the office. We have 2 of the old books where you got a piece of paper once a week with the new listings on it. So we've lived through a lot of iterations on how our business was done. And it's become so pervasive. Someone said, well, the internet came. And I thought, I had forgotten all about, it's gotten to be such a part of our life that we don't even think about that anymore. Now, how we're going to use it, but we're well aware that there's information at our fingertips that wasn't when you and I started in real estate. And so these changes coming, we talked about this a little earlier this morning, you're not freaking out about these changes coming.
No, it is what it is. And I think, everything just kind of settles down along the way. I remember when the internet really started and like you and I said, oh my God, what are we going to do? It was really nothing. It's great. We love it. It didn't eliminate our position because you still need that human voice. You still need that person in front of you who could decipher all the information too. We've walked in the houses. The internet has not walked into the houses.
Yes.
So we're able to really guide our clients and give them direction of, how do you go about this? And I think that's what the agents have to think about now, it's not going to change how we do our business. It'll make us smarter. It'll make us listen to our clients more and really focus on what we're doing and not just like say, oh, here, walk in the door. You really better know your stuff. And
I think it's going to, I actually see it as a positive change coming. Do I think it's going to be a hard 2 years? I do. I think you're going to have people who really struggle with this. But in the end, I was telling you, there was this lovely older gentleman in one class I was teaching early on when all these changes came, and stood up and said, I've done this a long time. We are all going to be more professional. We're going to be better. It's been interesting to me to try to get people to articulate, because one of the questions I ask in every class or presentation I'm making, what's your value? Mm-hmm. It's been so hard to get people to articulate what that is.
I think part of it is education. I think a lot of the companies just really haven't educated their agents, and that's really been over the last few years of maybe, I know when I started, you had to take classes. Mm-hmm. There was no ifs, ands, or buts. We had to continue. The continuing education was much more difficult too, because you had to take a test. You really had to read what you were, relearning. So I think, unfortunately, a lot of these companies have eliminated that layer. Yeah, maybe when you join, they'll say you have to take a week of this. And I think the North Shore Board used to have, I don't know if they still require this.
We do an orientation, but it's more about the board than it is about how to do business.
And that's the hard part, because you can't teach something from a book, how to do this business. You have to have real life experience. You have to come to your classes, which we love. And I think that's the only way you're going to learn, getting out there. It's real life. It's not what you're reading in the book. It's learning how to interact with other people, interact with your fellow agents. And I think that's where things have really gotten out of hand, because there's no respect for each other in the business. And I'm seeing that getting worse, and I just don't like it.
I think it's going to have to change, though.
It has to.
But here's one of the interesting things. Well, how are we going to know what compensation is going to be? And I say this old-fashioned thing. I said, well, you might want to call them up. Both of us the same thing. A telephone?
Oh my God.
Well. I said, yeah, you might want to call them. Well, what if they don't respond to my calls? Well, after a while, they're going to get the hang. I mean, I think one of the things is we're going to go backwards on this a little bit. I think people are going to get more responsive because they're going to have to answer those kind of calls. I said, yes. Then do a text and memorialize what there's, all that stuff. But this idea that I can do my entire business via the internet, on texting or by email or texting, you're missing the boat here, guys. You are just missing the boat. You just can't do this. That human element in the technology is the correct mixture of things.
Absolutely.
Use the technology to do everything that you don't want to do that's routine and rote, and then be a human being the rest of the time.
Absolutely. I feel that's why, I obviously have been in the business a long time, but I have great relationships with agents because I talk to them. Mm-hmm. We put each other in each other's faces. We have an human connection. And I hope if anything is going to change, that's going to bring back more of that human connection, that we like each other. We want to work with each other. And I think if there's anything I would say to young agents out there, be, friendly, Be
what a strange
concept.
Right. Be friendly.
Be friendly. It's not, don't antagonize each other. And I think, we're in it together. And I just have found over the last few years, definitely this kind of like really bad behavior. So hopefully, I think you're right. I think it's going to change.
That's my hope, that is going to be just simply because people are going to be forced to go backwards. I had someone ask me send me something, because I write these things on Sunday. I had someone write me back and say, what happened to the loyalty that people had? And she did a fairly long couple of sentences about where the disloyalty was. So I really went around. I kind of rolled that around in my head for a couple days. And I kind of came back to what I was just saying about we have to get back to my final line on what I wrote, because it's probably going to come out this Sunday, is put all your technology away for a week. See what happens. Mm-hmm. I'll bet you'll find that people are more loyal to you when you're in real time, you're really a really person, right, instead of a text or an email or something like that. So I think maybe this is the secret good of what's going to come out of this. We're going to hope for that anyway.
I hope so.
I do too. If you had one wish Well, something else I wanted to ask you about. You also do a lot of relocation?
I do. It's funny because I kind of thought I was going to get away from relocation with, Illinois losing people.
People all the time, yeah.
But we actually just worked with somebody from San Diego. We just also worked with somebody from Portland, Maine. So it's kind of an interesting time. I mean, and I expected this year to have no relocation, but here's 2 in the last really 6 weeks. And both of them are under contract, yay. And they're excited to move here. But I really got away from it for a while because I was so busy with other things that relocation was just a little too much paperwork, a little too much nothingness. But I was big on giving out people too. So, and it's more direct now. It's not the relocation companies so much. It's internal company referrals. So for us, that's changed a lot because if there's anything I could say about relocation, the paperwork involved was horrible.
It was horrendous.
Horrible. So now it's kind of easy. We just sign a referral agreement, boom, done. And we've been very lucky to work with great people across the country.
It's kind of fun to do that too.
I love it.
Do you end up learning all about the other places that way?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I make it my business. With Compass, we have a lot of different retreats and things I'm invited to. I go to everything because that's where you network with the other agents. They get to know you. When I pick up the phone to refer something, I just referred somebody in Florida. If I didn't know this agent, I'd be going blindly trying to go eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I connected with this young man, just sent him a $3 million referral, and it's like, oh my God. And I knew him, so I felt comfortable referring it. So I encourage agents. Again, it's all about networking, meeting people across the country. Pick up the phone. You don't know somebody and just say, hi, I saw your Instagram. I really liked it. I'd love to talk to you more. So I think that's, again, one of the great things about social media. You're seeing somebody come across on Instagram that's kind of interesting. Pick up the phone.
I had someone in Durango. I was teaching down in Durango. And they were talking about going to the convention when they still called them conventions instead of whatever they call them.
Right.
And there were people around the table saying, well, we just can't afford to go. We can't afford the fees to go, and we can't go to the... One of the guys in the office said, I'm going to tell you, you guys are dopes. He said, I go to every meeting. He said, and I make more money from that meeting than it probably 3 or 4 or 5 times what it cost me to go to the meeting because I meet everyone there and I build a referral base. You're not getting the hang of how this is supposed to work.
Right.
And I mean, he stays in my mind that he was just like, you're just not getting it, guys. So I'm glad that you're doing that. You have a company that does a lot of cool things as well.
We do.
Yes. If you had words of wisdom for brand new baby agents, brand new coming into the business with good hearts, wanting to help people in that, what would you tell them?
Well, first I probably would just say, listen. Don't talk. Listen to what's going on around you. I think for me, when I came into the business, I mean, I wasn't super young anymore, but, I was mid-30s. I listened to the agents, the older agents around me, and I picked up more in that period of time, and I tailed them. I said, what can I do? Can I do, run and do something? That was the best education, and I think, we all could help each other. We never stop learning. People say, oh, well, you don't need that anymore. I need it. I need to learn every day. Every day I wake up, I say, this is a new day. Sure, I'm experienced. I've been in the business a long time, but I learn something every day, whether it's from the new agent coming in. So I'm listening to what they're saying, too. I think that's one of the things. Everybody likes to hear themselves talk, but instead of talking, listen to what people are saying around you. And I think that's the best possible thing a new agent can do.
I'm trying to convince them to go back and go on tour with the agents.
Yes.
I keep saying, I can teach you all the scripts and I can teach you all that stuff, but I cannot teach you what the 3 people in the car are talking about that street over there and the water that it gets and the trouble that it has. And it's not written down anywhere. I can't even direct you anywhere to go find that information. It's on-the-job training. I think it's harder for agents right now to get that on-the-job training.
Well, and I think because that's how we grew up in the business.
Yes.
We caravanned, we toured together. We'd have office meetings. We would have definitely more interaction in the office. One of my things that I'm trying to encourage our offices and our agents within my Glencoe office, come into the office. interact again with agents. You know,
Yes.
people are working from home, and I think that's the harder thing, that we can't get people back in the door to just, you know, Scuttle was always a big deal for us. And that's where we would sell things without even a house coming on the market, because you were listening to what was going on around you.
Yes.
And I think that's one of the problems I'm seeing now. The agents, especially the newer, younger ones, well, I think it's easier for me to work from home because my kids are here, and they're just not coming in the
They're
office.
not coming to the office.
And they're not committed.
And they miss an enormous amount of information
Absolutely.
and learning doing that.
Absolutely.
I think so, I do as well. You know, I see dozens of agents every week. Every single time they sit in front of me, someone will say something and I will think, I didn't think of that. I should have thought of that already. And I didn't think about that. Or they'll tell me something new about what's going in the market. It's the best part of my job, is that there's always something new to learn. And I think for good realtors, that's one of the things. I think that's what makes realtors like their job. They don't wake up every day and do the same thing. There's always something new to try.
Absolutely.
Glo, thank you for being here today. This was very fun. I enjoyed this very
I
much.
do too. Thank you, my dear.
Thank you. Just a note, the views of our guests may not reflect the views of the North Shore-Barrington Association of Realtors.